Hello, everybody. My name is Thomas Athey, and I'm building Mesa, which is a rights management platform for music creators. So first, I'll begin with a little bit of context. Thanks to technology, it has never been easier to make and distribute music. Hit songs today are made in bedrooms because a laptop and a few add-ons function as a traditional studio. On top of this, you can now distribute your song onto Spotify for 99 cents. So technology has democratized the ability for artists to bypass traditional gatekeepers such as record labels. And as you can see with the chart here, this class of independent artists has steadily grown, and this has totally altered the landscape of the music industry. And so this new class of artists faces a new challenge, the administrative burden. And I'm happy to explain more in the Q&A, but super simply, every single song has two copyrights associated with it. So there's a master and a composition. These are two different assets, and these two different assets have different rights and payouts associated with them. So musicians have to organize themselves and then create contracts to establish these two types of assets. And then after they do that, they have to then register these assets with a handful of different entities so that they can actually get paid. And record labels and publishers used to take care of all of this, and now it's the independent artists themselves who have to manage the complex and time-consuming tasks of navigating these rights and payment processes. And so, as you can imagine, this administrative burden stifles independent artists. Independent artists are focused on creating music, not dealing with administrative tasks. As a result, they lose time, revenues, and control over their work. Mesa's solution is very simple. We simplify music administration. Our initial product does this by organizing files, managing collaborators, and helping create legal contracts for all parties when a song is complete. So we are right now in our beta, so we're not charging users, but very soon we will be, and artists will be paying $7.99 per month, plus $4.99 per contract sent, and we will take 5% of all revenues from registrations that we facilitate. This is a huge and expanding market, not only the independent class as a whole, but music creators overall. There were 78 million music creators across the globe in 2022, and this number is expected to grow to nearly 200 million by 2030. Our competitors only provide one part of the admin stack, and Mesa is building the full stack admin system. Our key differentiator is in our focus on IP protection, and we do this by helping create the actual ownership contracts. We then can take the metadata from those contracts and help automate the registration processes and then become a part of the flow of funds, help with accounting and future fintech services. Our initial target is early adopters who are tech-savvy musicians handling all aspects of their careers, or they're working with managers signifying a high commitment to their profession. We are reaching out to or targeting these artists via partnerships with music business communities and via a digital marketing strategy. Super quickly, we aim to not only be a consumer product, but also an enterprise solution. We are currently raising a $300,000 pre-seed round. We have $105,000 invested, $50,000 committed, and are looking to close the round by Thanksgiving. This will give us runway through November of 2025, and our goal by then is to at least have 1,500 paying users and $150,000 in ARR. The main use of this capital will go towards retaining our team, which I'll be speaking more about on the next slide. Our team has deep expertise in music and emerging tech, and this uniquely positions us to drive the next wave of innovation in the music industry. My co-founder, Andres Botero, is leading product development, is a graduate of the Berklee College of Music, has spent 20 years in the music industry as a producer, manager, and record label owner, and has developed artists that have more than 1 billion streams to date. My name is Thomas Athey. I'm leading business development. I just graduated from Davidson College in this past May, and I spent my first 2 years of college bootstrapping a company that educated people about blockchain technology. We had over 1,000 members in that community and over 1 million views across socials. Our two engineers both come from backgrounds in the music industry. Sweetman has been building music tech products his whole career, most notably for Meg Thee Stallion. Kevin Neaton is a sound engineer turned full stack developer. Branner is my roommate from Davidson. He is the ultimate utility man, helping us with admin work, leading product design, and helping us with our initial marketing, digital marketing strategy. He actually designed this deck, which I think shows he's a pretty good designer. Finally, Andres Sucar, leading legal affairs. He's a salsa pianist turned attorney, has spent, he just got his Master's of Law from the University of Notre Dame. And ultimately, Andres and I are really proud of the team that we've assembled. It's a group of domain experts that fully support our vision for Mesa. And as an early stage startup, our team is really a key reflection of our potential. Thank you.
So, Thomas, good to see you again. So I'll just start by saying to everyone, this is not Thomas's first rodeo. I think I've known him for 1.5 years now. So as you see the flow of this story, this is probably as much the benefit of having gone through some of these events and getting investor feedback on exactly what they want to hear, because, this checks, every box that I ultimately want to hear. And if the goal is to get another meeting, despite the fact this isn't my industry, I'm immediately intrigued by things like the fact that now we have, 50% of music artists are now in this domain. They all have this administrivia problem, and there really isn't a lot of tools to help them. That immediately, I can imagine the pain. I deal with administration in my fund. I know how much I hate it, and I know that it's very complex. So one question so first of all, just really good story. Everything really hits. I would take a second meeting if I was a generalist investor on this, because I think there's a lot to like about the story that you told. The problem seems clear. The market opportunity seems clear. The tech looks visually compelling. The team seems like a good combination of domain experts. So I'd be pretty excited to kind of have a second meeting. The one question, I guess the big question that I have is just to contextualize this explosion of independent artists. How many of them actually make any real money, right? So I had a friend in college who made stuff and put it up on Napster, right? That's a long time ago.
You're old.
Yeah, I know. I was like, okay, scare me now. But he had no envisions of that being something that he cared about making money off of, and therefore would have never really engaged in trying to make sure that his royalty rights were set. So this explosion, how many of these are just people messing around that have such a simple way to share it with their friends and family and other people, versus artists who truly want to control their rights and manage this like a monetization platform?
So first off, thank you. And 1.5 years ago, you did that venture kind of class, which was super helpful. If that's ever offered again, highly recommend. And of course, love the Hurt Hub sweatshirt. But so of the 50% of Spotify revenue, so in 2023, 50% of Spotify revenue came from independent artists, and that was $4.5 billion. So it's a big market given, and of course, that's, and we've been searching, find those exact numbers. I'd estimate of that, roughly, probably now around 100 million music creators. I would guess in the 25% would, make enough money or have their IP be valuable enough to be a client of Mesa, still a giant market. But the thing to consider is that it's not just the person singing. And that's why that number's so big. It's the producer, the sound engineer. They all have ownership on these contracts. And so, yeah, I don't have like a specific number on how many, but there was $4.5 billion in revenue from independent artists in 2023.
Yeah, I'd say just maybe one of the gaps. Help me walk. There's a lot of really compelling numbers and facts on here. Maybe one slide that just summarizes and walks me through this is the number of independent artists. This is how many we think are in our target zone. Let me apply my business model to give me a TAM would just, save me from having to ask the question or do the math on the end.
Yeah, nice presentation, Thomas. We spoke right before you pitched. A company that came through RevTech is Origin, who did the same thing, or something very similar. What that tells me is it's a real problem in the space, because if I'm seeing two very similar companies that are pitching the same solution, it tells me there's a problem in the space, or it tells me that it's a very competitive market, or maybe both. I'd recommend, I'm not sure what the status is of Origin anymore, but I'd recommend that you reach out to Robert Hatcher. Just hit him on LinkedIn, or I can connect you. I'm happy to do that. Look, the problem that you describe is huge. And, that's what grabbed me in your presentation when you see $4.5 million. The one thing I would add, I know there's horror stories out there of bands that hit it big, that never had their shit together, and all of a sudden they lost their IP rights or whatever it is. If you have one of those stories, it would even grab me more, because I know that there's a lot of them exist. In fact, I think Origin actually had some of those testimonials, for lack of a better term, in their pitch. But there's no question it's a huge problem. And my question to you, if you went back to the competition list, is who has first mover advantage? Is that you all, or is there one of the, the 5 or 6, not including Dropbox or Google Drive, but is Baton or Untitled, are they the 10,000-pound gorilla in the space? And is there room for you in this space?
Yeah, so really, Disco, Untitled are pretty big in the space, but Untitled is essentially Dropbox and Google Drive for music, so file organization. Disco is like file organization on steroids. You can track where your files get sent if they get leaked. And so, again, like there are, since we spoke earlier, I did a little research on Orion. Sounds like they've pivoted a little bit to a bit more focus on the admin stuff, publishing, rights. And so, again, everyone's providing like part of this stack, and we're trying to help create that entire flow. And the reason that's so important is because you need to organize your files, and in order to get the contracts created, right? So we need to have that part. And then when the contracts are created, then you need that to help with your registrations. And then you want to track the flow of payment and accounting. So everyone's kind of creating part of that flow, but no one's put it all together. And that's really what we're trying to do.
Yeah, that's a really good description. It sounds really complicated, and I don't know anything about how Spotify works, but based on the pitches I've heard, it sounds like a really complicated problem. So emphasizing that, yeah, you're a full suite down to the ERP solution for the music business. I think that really helps. What makes you an expert, Thomas? I didn't hear that. So clearly you're young, but you're clearly a serial entrepreneur. You've been at this. You've met Chris before. What makes you an expert in this area?
So I'd say the expertise in the music industry comes from my co-founder, who has 20 years in this business. And essentially we met. He has been developing artists in Colombia, the country. And so essentially we met in a music tech community. And after some period of time getting to know each other and wanting to move this forward, he said he has the experience in this industry, being in music and in Colombia, not a great access to capital, and not necessarily business side wasn't necessarily something he was interested in. That's kind of where I came in then to lead those efforts. But I think now I've known him for over 2 years now, and have just been like head deep in this for 2 years, and learning a lot. Of course, more to learn. Yeah.
The one last thing I'd say, to reiterate what Chris said, we have our list here. You checked all those boxes. didn't hear a lot on your traction. Like, you talked about doing some pilots, but are you making any money yet? Do you have any plans?
We've been working very closely with a group of like 30 artists over the summer. Literally next week, hopefully by this Friday, actually, we're launching kind of our initial product that we're going to be charging revenue for, which is a modular contract builder. So artists can answer essentially 4 to 10 questions, have a contract created for them. It's free to create, but then if you want to send it out to other collaborators, we charge $5 for that. Send it via DocuSign. So beginning to do that literally Monday, and then moving that forward, looking to get feedback on that while we then integrate that into the broader flow of the product and start moving people there.
Your pricing, which I appreciate you put out there, it sounded aggressive, but again, I don't know, the 5% of registration sound like, ooh, that could be a big number for you, but it could be a big number for our artists to allow. So I would just market test that as you get in there, see, what type, how do artists really want to pay? They may just want to pay an upfront fee and be done with it. I don't know.
So, and maybe this is good feedback that maybe I should have added this, but publishers who deal with the kind of admin stuff traditionally take 50% of your revenues. So, and then the other, so we're doing 5%. But I appreciate that feedback. That obviously isn't clear.
One more question. Absolutely. All right. Like, it's because when you brought up the horror stories thing, and then I remember I was at a conference once, and Duff McKagan from Guns N' Roses was talking about the early part of their journey and how they were like dead broke when they were the biggest group in the world and caking right. Is there a bigger opportunity here? Meaning, like, why? I understand the let's get these independent artists, but is there not an opportunity to move upstream and do have everyone start at the Taylor Swift, I'm gonna own all my stuff from day one? I feel like there's got to be this thought of, I'm an emerging band, maybe an A&R guy comes out and sees my show and I'm starting to look like somebody who might be something. Why don't I just take things into my own hands from day one? 5% is a hell of a lot better than 50%, and control my destiny. Is that part of the roadmap?
Totally, and that's what those kind of the target initial audience is, those artists with a manager with an idea that, you're pretty serious. And, it also is I think we have to build that kind of brand credibility. We are dealing with legal stuff, financial stuff. And the idea is that if we can even start bringing these early artists in over time, they progress in their careers and then actually don't need a lawyer in the future. The average lawyer takes a 5 to 10% retainer. So totally in the roadmap. And we're really trying to better define where do we insert ourselves right now in that process of artists.
Perfect.
Thank you.
I wanted to give Thomas a chance to
yes.
talk really quick. You're getting ready to go on a panel this afternoon
Yes.
for a conference here.
Yeah, so today, Thursday, Friday, is the Confluence Carolinas conference, which is the biggest music industry conference in the Carolinas. So if there's anyone here interested in that, highly recommend you attend, both kind of people working in the industry, a lot of artists as well. If you are interested, I have I think a 15% discount for tickets, and I'm speaking on a panel today, so pretty excited for that.
Perfect.
Thank you.